The Middle East, a region of immense geopolitical importance, is constantly being reshaped by various forces. At the heart of many of these shifts lies a deep-seated rivalry. This rivalry exists between two powerful nations that hold significant sway in the region, Iran and Israel. Their relationship, or rather lack thereof, casts a long shadow over the entire Middle East. Though not immediate neighbors geographically, their enduring conflict, fueled by decades of mistrust and antagonism, has profoundly defined the region for decades, shaping alliances, triggering wars, and influencing the lives of millions. This conflict is fueled by fundamentally opposing ideologies, clashing geopolitical ambitions, and drastically different visions for the future of the Middle East. Each nation sees itself as the rightful leader and guardian of the region. For many years, their war was not fought on open battlefields, but rather in the shadows, a clandestine struggle. It was waged through proxies, with both nations supporting various non-state actors and militant groups across the region. It also manifested in the digital realm, through sophisticated cyber attacks, targeting critical infrastructure and sensitive information. And it played out in the murky world of covert operations, intelligence gathering, and sabotage. Iran provides substantial backing to groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in the Gaza Strip, offering financial, military, and political support. In response, Israel has repeatedly targeted Iranian assets and personnel in Syria and elsewhere, seeking to degrade Iran's regional influence. Israel has also been implicated in attacks targeting Iran's nuclear program and its nuclear scientists, viewing it as an existential threat. Recently, however, this shadow war has begun to erupt into more direct military strikes and confrontations, dramatically escalating tensions and raising the specter of a wider regional conflict to dangerous new heights. The ongoing Gaza war and its repercussions have only served to intensify these existing divisions and animosities, inevitably drawing in regional and global powers, each with their own strategic interests and alliances. Therefore, understanding the sequence of these recent events and the underlying dynamics is absolutely key to grasping the high stakes involved and the very real risks of a much wider and devastating war engulfing the region. This story is about how a long-standing and deeply entrenched rivalry, simmering beneath the surface for decades, has finally exploded into open conflict, with potentially catastrophic consequences for the entire region and beyond. And it's a conflict that the world is watching anxiously, hoping to prevent further escalation and a descent into all-out war. Iran's Zulfikar military drills were a bold display of strength, aimed squarely at Israel and the US, spanning from the Strait of Hormuz to the Indian Ocean. These exercises showcased Iran's readiness to defend its interests. The timing was no accident. Israel was rumored to be considering strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Iranian commanders warned that any attack would be met with force, using the drills to project deterrence. The message was clear. Iran could disrupt vital shipping lanes and respond to threats with advanced weaponry. These maneuvers set the stage for the direct confrontations that soon followed. On April 1, 2024, an airstrike destroyed Iran's consulate in Damascus, killing top Quds Force commander Mohammad Reza Zahedi. The attack, widely attributed to Israel, marked a dramatic escalation, striking diplomatic territory and killing senior Iranian officials. Israel had long targeted Iranian assets in Syria, but this was a direct hit on sovereign Iranian ground. Iran saw it as a red line crossed, demanding a forceful response to restore its credibility. Supreme Leader Khamenei vowed retaliation, and Tehran faced pressure to act without triggering all-out war. The strike shattered the old rules of engagement, pushing the conflict into uncharted territory. The shadow war was now out in the open. The world braced for Iran's response. The fuse was lit for a new phase of confrontation. On April 13, 2024, a date that will be etched in the annals of Middle Eastern history, Iran launched its first-ever direct military assault on Israel, a move that shattered decades of strategic ambiguity and proxy conflicts. This unprecedented action marked a significant turning point in the already volatile relationship between the two nations. The attack involved a staggering barrage of over 300 drones and missiles, launched simultaneously from Iranian territory. This complex and coordinated operation was codenamed True Promise, signaling Iran's intent and resolve. The assault, meticulously coordinated with its network of proxy forces in the region, including Iraq, Syria, and Yemen, was designed to present a multi-front challenge to Israel's defense capabilities. The sheer volume of projectiles aimed to overwhelm Israel's sophisticated air defenses, testing their limits and resilience. Global powers watched with bated breath, fully aware of the potential for wider regional conflict. Israel, however, was not alone. Aided by the US, UK, France, and Jordan, a coalition of forces stood ready to defend against the incoming assault. Together, they intercepted nearly all of the incoming threats, showcasing the effectiveness of their combined defense systems. Despite the robust defense, a few missiles managed to penetrate the shield and struck targets within Israel. These strikes caused only minor damage to infrastructure and buildings, but the attack delivered a major psychological shock to the Israeli population, forcing them to confront the reality of direct Iranian aggression. For Iran, the attack served as a clear and unambiguous message, demonstrating its capability to strike Israel directly, regardless of geographical distance or defensive measures. It also signaled that Iran would not tolerate attacks on its interests, whether carried out directly or through covert operations. Following the attack, Iranian officials publicly claimed success, framing the entire operation as a justified act of self-defense in response to perceived Israeli aggression. The long-held strategy of proxy-only warfare appeared to be drawing to a close. A new era of direct confrontation between Iran and Israel had officially arrived, raising the stakes for regional stability. The international community watched with growing alarm, fully aware of how quickly this escalation could spiral out of control, leading to a broader and more devastating conflict. Both sides, Iran and Israel, now faced a dangerous new reality, one where the threat of direct military engagement loomed large, casting a long shadow over the region. After Iran's barrage, the world waited for Israel's response. Pressured by allies to avoid escalation, Israel opted for a precise, limited strike near Isfahan, home to key Iranian military and nuclear sites. The attack demonstrated Israel's reach and technological edge, but both sides downplayed the incident to avoid further escalation. Iran minimized the damage, while Israel maintained official silence, allowing both to step back from the brink. The message was clear. Israel could hit sensitive targets, but neither side wanted all-out war. This calculated restraint temporarily paused the cycle of retaliation. The region remained on edge, but a wider conflict was narrowly averted. The standoff had entered a new, more volatile phase. The eruption of Iran-Israel clashes sent shockwaves across the globe, immediately demanding attention from key international players. This sudden escalation of tensions brought long-standing conflicts to the forefront, creating a precarious situation in an already volatile region. The unfolding events triggered urgent responses from global powers, prompting emergency meetings and high-level consultations as leaders grappled with the potential ramifications. The international community recognized the need for immediate action to de-escalate the situation and prevent further conflict. The US swiftly moved to directly aid Israel's defense, reaffirming its commitment to its long-standing ally. American defense systems were deployed to bolster Israel's capabilities, signaling a clear message of support in the face of escalating threats. However, while providing crucial support, the US quickly urged restraint from all parties involved, warning against actions that could lead to a wider war engulfing the region. The delicate balance between supporting an ally and preventing a larger conflict became a central challenge for American diplomacy. President Biden made it unequivocally clear that support for Israel's defense was ironclad and unwavering. He emphasized the enduring strength of the US-Israel alliance, assuring Israel of America's steadfast commitment to its security. At the same time, America clarified that it would not directly join an offensive against Iran, seeking to avoid direct military confrontation and emphasizing the importance of de-escalation through diplomatic channels. US diplomats worked overtime, engaging in intense negotiations and shuttle diplomacy to prevent further escalation of the conflict. The State Department played a crucial role in reaching out to regional partners and international actors to find common ground and promote dialogue. This involved carefully balancing alliance commitments with the pressing need for regional stability, a complex task requiring nuanced diplomacy and strategic foresight. The US sought to navigate the intricate web of relationships and rivalries in the Middle East to prevent a full-blown war. Russia, meanwhile, adopted a different approach, calling for calm and criticizing what it perceived as destabilizing Western policies in the region. Moscow emphasized the need for a comprehensive solution to the underlying issues fueling the conflict. Russia was particularly wary of any instability that could threaten its strategic interests in Syria, where it maintains a significant military presence and supports the Assad regime. The conflict between Iran and Israel raised concerns about the potential for spillover effects in the already war-torn country. Moscow's response reflected its strategic alignment with Iran, a key partner in the region, and its ongoing rivalry with the West, particularly the United States. Russia has consistently sought to challenge American influence in the Middle East and promote its own vision for regional security. The crisis quickly became another front in the ongoing global power struggle, highlighting the competing interests and geopolitical tensions that define the international landscape. The conflict served as a reminder of the complex interplay of forces shaping global events. With each side carefully maneuvering to protect its interests and advance its strategic objectives, the crisis unfolded as a complex diplomatic chess game with far-reaching consequences. The stakes were high, and the potential for miscalculation loomed large. As diplomatic efforts intensified, economic sanctions and other forms of diplomatic pressure were employed as tools to influence the behavior of the parties involved. The international community sought to leverage its economic and political power to de-escalate the conflict and promote a peaceful resolution. Despite these efforts, the risk of miscalculation and unintended escalation remained high, underscoring the fragility of the situation and the urgent need for continued diplomatic engagement. The potential for a spark to ignite a wider conflict was a constant concern. The world's major powers watched closely, monitoring every development and assessing the potential implications for their own security and interests. The crisis demanded constant vigilance and a willingness to adapt to rapidly changing circumstances. Knowing that the stakes could not be higher, the international community braced itself for what lay ahead, recognizing the profound impact the crisis could have on global peace and security. The world held its breath, hoping for a swift and peaceful resolution. Beneath the headlines, ordinary people bore the brunt of the conflict. Israelis rushed to shelters, Iranians feared the next strike, neighbors in Jordan, Lebanon, and Syria lived in constant anxiety. Economic fallout rippled across the region, soaring oil prices, lost jobs, and shattered hopes for stability. The threat of war made daily life unpredictable and dangerous for millions. Despite a pause in direct attacks, the risk of renewed conflict remains. Both Iran and Israel have shown a willingness to escalate, and a single misstep could ignite a larger war. The world hopes for diplomacy, but peace remains elusive. Until the root causes are addressed, the Middle East will remain on a knife's edge, with ordinary people paying the highest price.